How many days till the next holiday? Let's count. Welcome to Miss Hood's Retired School Bus Life. We count the days and count the days, it's how we make it through. We count the days and count the days, it's what we like to do. Some of you are going to be starting school in a week after the holiday weekend. But some of you have been driving, and some of you have been driving almost the whole month of August. And I know what you're doing. The county that I drove in, this was what the paperwork looked like. Where I drove, we had to have all that paperwork turned in before fall break in October. For those of you who've been driving for a couple of weeks, you're doing your seating charts now, right? So how did I do seating charts?
This is a yellow sheet.
Those of you who are following me, you know that I just did a video about yellow sheets. I give the yellow forms to the students. They take them home to their parents, fill them out, parent signs it, brings it back to me, and then I transfer that information onto my clipboard with my student list.
When I finish putting them on the list here, then I will go here and I will actually put their names on the seat assignments. These have magnets on the back of them.
After I had a couple of years under my belt, I thought, you know what? They give me the route before school starts. So I've got all the stops. And they give me a student list of last year. So I have a vague idea of how many students are going to get on each stop. I decided that I was going to start putting the street names on my cards, and I was going to put them over the seats. If I had 9 children at one stop, I would have 3 of them be over the seats. The other thing that I did that was really cool, I put the first stops in the back of the bus. Now, kindergartners had to sit in the front 3 seats. Those were saved kindergartners. But everybody else went to the back of the bus. So as I loaded the bus, everybody went as far back as they could and sat down. It was awesome. It was so awesome that I went to the elementary school principal one day and I said, it would be so neat if you guys would load the kindergartners first, of course. That's just the rule. And then the 5th graders. And then the 4th. And the 3rd. And the 2nd. And the 1st. And that way, they're going to the back of the bus and they're sitting down. They got their seat. And we don't have any of this walking down the aisle, picking on kids. Somebody sticks their foot out. Somebody drops something in the floor. Kids put their backpacks in the aisle. And the other kids can't even get on. That was a big, big pet peeve for me. And he just didn't even want to hear it.
Kindergartners are closest to me, then 1st graders, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Each year, those first 2-3 weeks of school, I had to watch the 5th graders to see
fifth graders this year are going to start out in the front because these children need just a little bit of training. I run my bus differently than other drivers, so they have to adapt to their new driver and know the expectations I have. So instead of yelling back and forth across the bus, what I will do is I will put the fifth graders in the front and I will start training them on what's appropriate behavior on the bus.
I remember that year. Those fifth graders, they flat wore me out.
They are the movers and the shakers on the bus. Everybody looks up to the fifth graders. So they want to imitate the fifth graders. So if I'm training them and all the other children are sitting behind them, except for the kindergartners, they have to sit up front, then they'll see and they'll learn. And I've already told the fifth graders, once we get finished with your training and I see you can do it without me having to tell you, then I'll move you back.
I never, ever, in my 8 years of driving, I never had two students that sat together all year long. They got tired of each other. They got on each other's nerves. I had one group that I had to switch the entire bus every 2 weeks.
I have to have something above those seats for those children. They look at this every day, all year long. My kids always did. And I'm always moving my children around. Because if you're given the privilege of sitting in the back and you can't behave yourself, you're coming to the front.
Another thing I learned about these cards is that they're so versatile. When I would have to transfer my kids to a sub bus, I could just take those cards with me and put them up. We had so many sub buses that didn't have numbers above the seat. And when we would do a transfer, the kids would just be lost. We were required to assign seats in elementary school and middle school, but very few people did that. I always had assigned seats for my elementary kids, but I didn't for my middle school kids. We had a deal. They behaved themselves, so I wouldn't assign seats. If they didn't behave themselves, they would sit in the front seat. Where I drove, the middle school students and the high school students rode the same bus. The middle schools and the high schools were not that far apart from each other, and some were actually on the same site.
I gotta tell you this about my high school. I was shocked when I handed these yellow sheets out, and the next day they're bringing them back to me.
The students that just wanted to get home or get to school sat in the front. The students that were up to mischief would sit in the back of the bus. The students who chose the middle seats were a whole lot more social.
This group of high school, middle school kids that I'm driving, they're awesome. They're awesome. I've never worked with a group like this group before, and I'm really happy.
This is how I made my index cards covered with contact paper and applied magnets. Let's get started. Large index cards, not those small ones, big ones. You're going to write 3 names across here in big letters so the children can read them. Adhesive numbers. You peel them off, stick them on the card. Contact paper. contact paper. I found this at Walmart in the kitchen area, around where you find the linings that you put down in your drawers or your shelves in your cabinet. Magnets. Peel off the back, stick it to the card, put it on the side of the bus. As time passed, I learned that these magnets weren't strong. And so when the windows would be down on the bus, you had a lot of air circulation, they'd blow out the window. So as time passed and I had to remake cards, I got the big chunky square magnets. Dry erase markers. I started color coding the different grade levels, because when I was thinking about where children were sitting, if I had to move a student because they were out of sorts with who they were sitting with, it was good for me to see where the second graders stopped and the third graders started. This made it really nice to have different colors. In the beginning, I made 24 cards. 24. Because I thought I had 24 seats. And wasn't I surprised when I got on the bus and I got to number 19 and I didn't have any more seats. The odd numbers were behind me and the even numbers were on the exit door side. And that side of the bus does not have an emergency side door exit, so it has 12 seats. This side of the bus has the emergency door exit, so you lose 2 seats. There's only 10 seats on the side behind the driver. I took seat number 21 and I made a seat identification card for me. I put it in the front of the bus where everybody could see. My name is Miss Hood, not Hey Bus Driver. There's a funny story about this.
The funniest story about these cards is that for some reason, when you put all the windows down on the bus and you pushed up the escape hatch just for air, I would have those cards blowing off and into the floor. And it was only 2 cards opposite the either side of the bus, so it was the wind circulation that was causing this to happen. And I would just put them back up when I had a chance. And one day, one just flew right out the window. After I'd been driving for about 6 years, I had this one group of middle school students. They were off the chain, I'm telling you. So I decided to create some reserved seating.
My reserved seating for my middle schoolers. They didn't necessarily sit in the front. They sat all over the bus because I had to split up the group. Seat identification for your students. It is part of running a safe bus.
It's just another memory in Miss Hood's retired school bus life. Drive safe, everybody.